Maybe they just
Weird.
dance terribly. Like,
Yeah, like inspirational
that's
dance.
not even a dance. You're just
Yeah.
shuffling back and forth. So a lot of people recommended this book to me. I know you recommended it. One of my other friends recommended it, and then I was finally like, fine, I guess I'll read it against my will. I'm very picky with books, as you
Yeah.
know. But when I read the summary, I was like, okay, this is kind of like The Hunger Games, but it seems like it's for dudes. So I read it, and then like I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it started off slow, right? You're like, seriously? Well, like, why am I reading this? Like, just get to the middle, then it's gonna pick up. You're not gonna put it down, and that's where it got good, right? But the first half is mainly explaining like Darrow's situation. He's like a miner, so I thought so it's gonna be a book about mining in Mars. Okay, whatever. But then you get to learn about the gold. The reason they're supposedly mining is to get this helium-3, something used for terraforming Mars, because their whole what they were led to believe is that they're creating a future for humans that are going to be living in Mars, right?
Yeah, they'll eventually get to live
Yeah.
on Mars as soon as the Reds finish their work, which I don't think it's a spoiler because it's like right
Yeah.
at the beginning of the story. It sets you
Yeah.
up thinking like they're terraforming Mars, and then we come to find out with the protagonist that that's not true. They're like living in the future, and they're living it up in the future too.
Yep.
It is amazing. Everybody is broken down into class structures based on color for some reason. Also, there's a lot of Greek mythology or Greek history infused in the entire story, which kind of confused me because I'm not sure why people in the future would be so interested
Yeah.
in developing their society around an old defunct
Empire.
empire, semi-democratic, but it works. You know, it's interesting, I guess. Also, it forces them to. Okay, so I'm gonna go on a rant on just the Greek mythology part or the Greek history part because I think you and I like a lot of Greek history, right? We read Julius Caesar biography, Hannibal. Biography, and we watch a lot of or read a lot of history stuff related to Greek and Romans.
Or even like
So-
the Odyssey and all that.
Yeah, I like it, right? And I even wrote a story where Greek and Roman mythology is inserted in it a little bit, but not at this level. The level that the author inserts Greek and mythology or history is like 120%. Absolutely everything, every character needs to have a Greek name. Every place needs to have a Greek name. Every like action they take needs to be inspired by
Even
Greek
the houses
for some
they
reason.
get put into.
This is the future, and they are on multiple planets with, I'm going to guess, millions and millions of people. How could you possibly have everybody named and place named after Greek mythology? It's
Yeah.
insane.
So the whole point is Darrow is going to infiltrate, the
Yeah.
golds, go into their institute.
But it's not for no reason, right? His wife gets killed. This is not a spoiler because this is just the beginning of the story, which kind of blew my mind. Like, this
it
could
was quick.
easily, like any other young adult novel, would easily just take this beginning section and make that the first novel, which I kind of thought this was going to be. I thought it was going to be like him just coming to the realization that he's being like subjugated and he needs to rebel, right? That's the entire first novel. But no, that's like the first 5 chapters, maybe. And then the rest of the novel is him going to some academy after being like
Kidnapped.
magically transformed into a gold and surviving the academy.
Because he even gets kidnapped. And
At the
he.
academy?
No, by the Sons of Ares.
Oh, well, I think that's the plan. Okay, so we're getting ahead of ourselves, right? So again, just to summarize it, Darrow is red, he's slaving away in the mines, he's pretty good at mining, and then like him and his wife go somewhere they're not supposed to go. So the Silvers or Grays,
It was just like a garden that they
Yeah.
built.
they're
Yeah.
like the police force or whatever. They're like, you're not supposed to be there, so I'm gonna hang you. So they hang his wife, and then Darrow's like super sad about it, and then he ends up doing some small rebellion. I forget what he
Yeah.
does.
Well, before they hang her, so they publicly whip her, and she starts singing
Oh,
this
right.
forbidden song, which apparently is like a song that talks about rebellion and
Song and dance is like
sticking
forbidden
up
or
for
something.
yourself. Yeah, the dance, which
Maybe they just
Weird.
dance terribly. Like,
yeah, it's like
like,
inspirational
that's
dance.
not even a dance. You're just
Yeah.
shuffling back and forth.
Yeah, maybe like in Brazil where they like banned martial arts, so they started dancing, and that was their
Oh,
martial arts. All right, well, whatever.
We're getting off on a tangent again.
So yeah, so she sings that forbidden song, and now she goes from getting whooped to getting hanged
Yeah.
publicly, and they force her family to pull the legs.
Well,
right?
no, they're not forced to. They do it out of like compassion or something because
right.
when they hang people, it doesn't snap their neck.
'Cause
So
Mars-
there's like a whole mechanism behind, or there's like a whole thing behind hanging people. You have to hang them a certain way. So when they hang, the reason why they drop is so they can break their neck, and they just die right off the bat. They don't actually choke. It breaks their neck. But I think in this case, they purposefully do it wrong so that the person chokes to death. Slowly. So the family members are then allowed, I guess, to run over and yank on their legs to break their neck and just get the suffering over with. Which I think is pretty savage. And I actually appreciate the level of savagery in this book. Not because I'm saying I love people being mean to each other, but it's I think appropriate for the level of his reaction to everything else, right? It's not just like his wife died. His revenge story is everything that he had to do after his wife died. Yeah. It's pretty brutal, and I think that is enough emphasis for him to go on this whole revengeful
finding out that they've been living a lie. And then I think he faints or something happens where when he wakes up, he's kidnapped by these Sons of Ares.
No, he's sad or some business like that. And then he goes and like breaks the law. He then is also hanged, and his uncle gives him some magic juice that like makes him seem like he's dead when he gets hanged, but he's not dead. So he then gets buried. The Sons of Ares dig him up, and then that's when they take him to go see like their terrorist cell leader that hatches this plan to magically turn him into a gold. So they're going to take a lower class citizen, and turn him into a gold, which is like the precipice. The science magic.
Painful.
They're doing science magic on him.
Yeah.
There's a whole process of turning a red into a gold. Like, you got to inject them with stuff, and then they kind of matrix it where they jam something in his skull and they download information. But then he's got to, like Neo, he's got to learn how to use all of his new information and abilities.
He gets taller too, right? And like
he gets buffer and taller and a lot more handsome. So I mean, everything that the golds are, right? They're stronger, they're smarter, they're faster, they're more beautiful.
They're like the Spartans. Right?
Are the Spartans more beautiful?
Or like in Halo. I don't know. Not more beautiful, but...
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
All these golds, they have different houses. House of Mars, House of Venus, House of whatever, the Roman culture. And they each compete, like, politically. Obviously,
and it's an entire society. So unlike the Hunger Games, where it's much more condensed, where I think it was Katniss's family and stuff were contributing all their supplies to the main people... And then once that's severed, there's like a rebellion, right? But this is like an entire...
Galaxy? I don't know.
I think it's a solar system, really. I think it's an entire solar system of a civilization over 400 years embedded and fractured. So I'm not quite sure how one man expects to change it like overnight, but that's what he goes about doing. He wants to pass this academy to become a peerless guard, one of the cool dudes. So then he gets a cool appointment. So then he can lead an army of golds that come and like free the Reds. How he's going to convince a bunch of golds to free Reds, I don't know. But that's his plan.
Honestly, he doesn't even know, right? He just knows he's
just like, I'm going to roll the dice because I got nothing else to do. It's either I die or I go like avenge my wife. So it's like a whole Matrix thing is his conversion from red to gold. Yeah. But my thing is, if they can turn one gold, and I'm not going to give a spoiler, but at minimum one red into a gold, how come they can't make multiple, and not just multiple, but a whole army of them? And I'm not just saying for the rebellion, I'm saying for life in general. Like, if you can become a gold,
it's like getting
become a gold.
It's like getting a new identity.
Yeah.
Getting a new passport. What I mean? Yeah.
So, like, I would save up enough money. Like, let's say I wasn't red. Let's say I was a silver or one of the grays or whatever other color I want to be. I'm like, you know what? I want to be a gold. I'm going to work for a couple of years. I'm going to save up a chunk of money. I'm going to pay this black market hacker. And now I'm magically a gold. Like, why doesn't everybody just do that?
Yeah.
If all of it is like genetic engineering.
That'll be like going from a slave to an official Roman citizen. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you worked hard enough, you got money, right? You know the right people. Bada bing, bada boom. Which is why this whole like colored class structure just doesn't work in general. It just generally doesn't make sense. Not just for this book. I think just for all dystopian fiction in general. Like, they want to break it down into class structure. I know it's been done like that in like history, but I don't think it works in the future where people have quick access to information.
Yeah, I thought there was a few colored classes because in the book they only mention like the golds, the silvers, the coppers, and then the red, violet, obsidian. But there's a whole bunch of other ones like brown, black, white, and blue, and like there could be a low class that's an elite warrior, or someone that's a great doctor, and he's not gonna want to stick down here, or they're not just gonna accept like, oh, I grew up a blue, so I'm gonna be here. Eventually, it's gonna break down.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, technology kind of like evens the playing field for a lot of people. Why would you force yourself to be in class structure when somebody else could bring so much benefit to your whatever it is you're doing, your job or your society?
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is the goals are already like close to civil war or something. They just need that person
Yeah.
to take the lead, right, and get enough sway. Like, you're thinking this way, let's go all the way. Come on, who's with me? That's kind of like how it ends up, right?
Well, let's
In
not
a
give
way,
too much
in a
away.
way.
Okay, so now let's dive into the academy, which
So
is where
that
it
was
goes.
like the first quarter of the book.
Yeah, that's just the first quarter. So we didn't give any spoilers.
Yeah.
We're just kind of summarizing the first quarter and then rambling about what we thought.
Now the academy.
So he gets turned into a gold, and then he gets shipped off to this academy, which is kind of like a military academy, to not only like train them, but also to see who's fittest. It's kind of like SEAL training,
Yep.
where they train you, but they also are weeding out all of the weaker people.
Yeah, and
But by weeding out, I mean killing.
yeah, that surprised me. But it's not just, it's the fittest in all aspects, like the fittest of the mind, the fittest politically. They put each other in a room in twos, right?
Yeah.
And they lock them in, and they walk out saying only one's coming out.
Yeah, they have to kill each other, which, again, I like this book. I don't know why I always do this thing where, like, I like the book and then I tear it to pieces, but it just doesn't make sense that you put all of these golds, which are already elites, into a situation where half of them have to get killed. They mentioned something about, like, pruning the population or something like that. You were mentioning Spartans. It's kind of like how Spartans, like, would ditch their babies.
Weakest.
Yeah, the weak babies into, like, the well, but Spartans ain't around anymore. Like, there's a reason why their culture died. It did not work.
I know. Some of them, you could tell they were, like, put with the weakest, so they're going to come out of the winner. But sometimes they don't. Just like there's one situation where, like, the weaker guy ended up coming in on top and killing this politician's kid.
That's a great example of why you should just train these
Yeah.
people. And through training and testing and training, you then find the best. Not just murder half of them because you
Right
can.
off the bat. You get, like, the top 20, and then you got to murder half of them. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Like you made a good point. Like, there's still smart people, capable people with connected families. Like, if they didn't pass the academy, they could have went back to regular society and been a variety of
Something.
great things.
And Darrow is 16, by the way. 16 put
He
him
seems
through
like
all
he's
this,
30.
right? Yeah, well, yeah, after everything he goes through. So this is just the first test. The second test is where it really picks up.
What
and
test
gets
is that?
exciting. Well, when they get put into their houses and then they get set up in these
Oh, you mean-
fortresses, right?
Yeah, you mean the
Yeah.
first test was, individual killing, and then they get it placed in these houses. You're right. It's like it's like medieval times kind of. They have like no futuristic weapons. They basically get stripped down as well. I think.
Yep. Some
They
people
live in like literal castles with castle walls and gates and all of that
Yeah.
business.
they each have their own handicap, their own benefits. Like, one is up in the hill, so it's easily protected. One is by the water. One has horses, and it's
Yeah.
on purpose, so they could each try to take each other's resources,
And
right?
just like in the Hunger Games, how when Katniss was in the game and she would often get like things from her sponsors or whatever flown into her.
Yep.
It's the exact same thing. Like, they can often get things from their sponsors that help them out, like weapons and armor and food and medicine and things like that. There's a lot of parallels to the Hunger Games. They even have like that Fitchner guy, which is like their tutor or mentor or whatever, which is exactly like Woody Harrelson's character. I don't even remember his name, but it's like Woody Harrelson's character in the Hunger Games.
But the main goal is to capture each other's fortresses and
Yeah, so that's the whole dynamic throughout the majority of the book is Darrow now hiding as a gold in this gold academy, trying to be the best gold he can ever be.
yeah, and I guess he does really good because he becomes the
Well,
leader, right?
I think it's like back and forth because what's great about this book is that I rarely ever saw the twists coming. In the beginning, I thought it was just going to be about Darrow rebelling and then, or losing his wife and then deciding to rebel, but
Yeah, like actual rebelling, like all the Reds fighting the Gold,
yeah.
right?
And then we get to the academy and he gets like his first group of friends and then something happens and I didn't see that twist coming, and then he gets his second group of friends and then there's more twists, and
And this happens.
I never like knew what twists were coming, and I thought that was like one of the best aspects of this book. The author often took it in wild directions I couldn't even guess.
Then you think he's gonna like rule everything and be on top and have all these friends, and then nope, not today.
You think he's going to be the best, like the best fighter, the strongest fighter, the fastest fighter, when he's not. He's.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I spoiled that for you, but he's not necessarily the best fighter. He learns that he has to be a good leader.
One character I like the best. It's one of those people, especially for guys, where you fight them so often and you become best friends. So there's
You
this
end up
dude.
becoming friends with that bully in high school because after high school you both work at McDonald's now.
Yeah, and then you had a lot in common. That's why you hated each other.
And you find out in a late night shift at McDonald's that you have a lot in common.
Yeah. So this character for Darrow was Pax Out Telemanus. And I like that dude because he was from another house and they were always fighting. This dude was ridiculously strong. Like, didn't he throw a horse or he threw something at him?
Yeah, he's super
like,
strong. And he reminds me of Ajax in the Iliad, you know, when they storm the beach.
Oh, yeah.
And they have all these characters.
He's just slamming
And
everyone,
he's this
tossing
giant
everyone.
dude, yeah, and he's just throwing people around.
Man.
If you haven't read the Iliad, which I don't blame you, go watch the movie Troy with Brad Pitt. It's a lot sexier, and in there you can see Ajax in there and how like he's huge and monstrous.
And that was him. And he will like destroy people, stand on them, and be like, Pax Out Telemanus. I thought it was hilarious. He just liked saying his name over and over.
I know.
Even Darrow was like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
All right, settle down, man. Okay,
Yeah.
You're not on Instagram.
Yeah, but that guy was awesome.
Again, amazing how much I was not able to predict in this
Anything.
book, because most of the time when we read novels, I'm like, oh, I can already see this coming because I read a lot of books just like this one. This one's just like The Hunger Games, just like Lord of the Flies, and you expect it to go a certain way, but it doesn't.
Game of Thrones. And all the
yeah,
backstabbing and the changing of alliances and all the twists.
And that actually carries over into book 2 as well, because in book 1 in the academy they have these different castles with different like families and stuff like that, you know. And then in larger society too, the golds are broken up into like different families and stuff.
Yeah, but apparently the whole point for these games is to like finish at the top of your class, because then the
It's like an
different
NFL
golds in
draft after
society have like you get dibs. You want to go with the Dolphins, you want to go with the Chiefs, like you get your choice.
Which again doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's weird.
It doesn't make sense because all of these gold families are sending their children off to this academy. And then after that, their children get to pick up like a patronage from different other families. Like, just sponsor your own kid. Just raise your own kid to, you know, represent your own family, your own interests. I don't understand why you have to send your kid to an academy, give him a 50% death rate, and then if he graduates, don't even pick your kid back up. You just send him off. You're like, all right, you did a great job,
Gonna
and
benefit
now
the
you
enemy.
could go to some totally different family.
What?
All
And it
right.
could be your nemesis.
Yeah, you could go to the family of your nemesis.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's so weird. Like, just send them to a real school where once you graduate, you just go where you want to go. It's very weird.
I would have liked it if the people that went to the academy were not the best of the Gold Society, and this is why they had to do so well in this academy, because that's how they rise in the society. Whereas it seemed like everybody that came to society was already at the peak, so they had absolutely everything to lose.
Yeah, like one guy, his dad was like the leader of the fleet taking over planets or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
It seems like you
What
don't need to
the-
go there because
no.
your dad was probably going to get you a job in the fleet anyway. And throughout your time and experience in the fleet, you would have slowly rose through the ranks and then led a fleet with your father. It doesn't make sense that your father would send you to academy to then get murdered. If you felt like the Hunger Games was too emotional and you wanted more action, this is definitely where it's at.
oh yeah.
I wasn't really into it because even on the Amazon listing it says, "Oh, this is like Hunger Games," and I was like, I read Hunger Games, but I wasn't super into it. If you like more military action, science fiction, then this is definitely where it's at.
Yeah, because there's emotion, but it doesn't drag on. And I feel bad. Oh,
Darrow's
they
just like, I'm sad, so I'm gonna kill people.
yeah. And
Whereas like Katniss would spend 3 chapters talking about how she felt about something.
or 3 movies. It's like, jeez, right? Yeah, so definitely recommended.
So let us know in the comments what you thought about this book. Let me know if I'm right or if Abel's wrong. Thanks for watching.
Preferably in a residential area. Should be played at high volume.
Well, about what?